So let's talk about choosing the best method when we're using solving for a quadratic function. We've got four choices. We can solve each quadratic equation by the method of your choice: factoring, the quadratic formula, or completing the square. We use the graphing to help us identify maybe what is a good method for us to use, or to help us check our work. We need to show our work, we need to leave our answers in simplest fraction form and or simplest radical form. And then as you get to the practice on the back of this worksheet, we have some solutions at the bottom of the paper to help you check your work. They are in random order. But as we take a look here at the first method, I would like to tell you the way I look at this. I always look and see, can I factor x squared minus 4x plus 4 in this case? And if the answer is yes, then I go ahead and factor. And if the answer is no, then I look to see which is my other method. But what might be helpful for you is if we pull out our calculators and we go to y equals and we type in x squared minus 4x plus 4. And I know I have them all typed in here, but the first one should show up. So you're going to go to y equals and type in x squared minus 4x plus 4. And once we press graph, it will kind of give us some idea of whether we can identify an answer or not. And what I see on this first one is that we can define the solution. It is at our x-intercept at this value right there, which happens to be 2. And I know I went rather quickly, but because we can identify our answer from our picture on the screen, then what I would put here is that I would choose to factor because we can identify the answer from the calculator. We're able to identify what the answer is right then and there. But once again, I look at it, can we factor? So as we go ahead and factor, I'm going to write down the problem again. And just a couple of reminders. Remember that when we're solving a quadratic, it's best if the equation's set equal to 0. And luckily here, on all of our examples they are, but on the practice they aren't all. We would multiply 1 times 4. We're going to split the middle. 1 times 4 is 4. And the factors of 4 are 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. Will either of those combine to be 4? And if we put in this as negative 2 and negative 2, as we split the middle here, we're going to write down our x squared and we're going to write down our positive 4. And then it's going to be minus 2x and minus 2x. And now, here, and here as we group. And our greatest common factor in the first group between x squared and 2x is simply x. And we're left with x minus 2. Be careful in the second group. There's a minus in front of that 2x. So we're going to be factoring out something that's negative. And between 2x and 4, the greatest common factor is 2. In general, what we get in the first parentheses should be what we get in the second parentheses. Negative 2x divided by negative 2 is x. 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. And now we've got this factored because we have x minus 2 and x minus 2. Remember, some of you can say right away what the answer is, and some of us, we have to say, well, x minus 2 equals 0. We don't need to do it twice since they are the same factors. But we can add 2 to both sides. And we end up with x equals 2. And again, if you're a factor master, look at the problem. Can you factor? It's probably the most efficient method, but it doesn't work on all quadratics. When we look at problem number 2, x squared plus 6x minus 11, let's type it in. We go to our calculator screen, and we're going to type in the x squared plus the 6x minus 11. Oops, must not have gotten that first one turned off. Try that again. So here's our red graph. And at a glance, when we look at this, what I see is that I have no idea where the graph crosses the x-axis. But we can take second and trace, which gets us up to the calculate button. And then we can type in 0, number 2. And I'm going to use my right arrow button. And somewhere over here. Again, your cursor doesn't have to be in the same place as me. Your numbers at the bottom of the screen don't have to be the same as mine. But that's going to be to the left of our point. As we scroll a little bit to the right here, again, your numbers at the bottom of the screen still do not have to be the same as mine. Pressing enter. And then when we press enter for the third time, our cursor is going to jump back to where it crosses the x-axis, which is at 1.47. And as we pull up the screen one more time here, it's not just 1.47. I rounded it to the nearest hundredth. It's 1.472136. It's this big long decimal. And that big long decimal kind of indicates, even though I don't have the other answer just yet, the big long decimal means that I cannot factor. So the long decimal means no factor, no factoring. And then I look at a couple other things. One is there a number in front of the x squared? There's, it's x squared only, and the b term is even. So the method that I would pick here is complete the square. But once again, when given your choice, if you don't like completing the square, use the quadratic formula. But it allows me to review all of the methods that we've done. So I'm going to pick complete the square here as we look at this. I'm going to write down the problem. The nice thing is the equation set equal to 0. So it's x squared plus 6x minus 11 equals 0. And some of you still might be writing down my explanation. Long decimal means no factoring. So first of all, that eliminates that one. Then you've got your choice between the other two. Because there's no number in front of the x squared term, then I start looking at complete the square. Because in this case the 6 is an even number, means I'm not going to get a fraction, so that helps as well. So what we did when we completed the square, we put the variables on one side and the constants on the other. So we get x squared plus 6x plus something equals 11 plus something. to figure out what that something is, we take the b. b divided by 2, which is 3, and we square it. 3 squared is 9. I tend not to write the 9 down, because what's in the parentheses here to the far right on our screen is what we can use to factor, which is our next step. We get x, and then it's plus 3, plus 3. Over here on the right side, 11 plus 9 is 20. And now we can condense it down. We have x plus 3 squared equals 20. And to undo squaring, we're going to take square root. Square rooting and squaring cancel each other out. So we're left with x plus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of 20. But then the question becomes, can we simplify the square root of 20? And our answer is yes. 20 is 10 times 2, 4 times 5. It doesn't make any difference what you pick. If we write this a little bit neater, it's 2 times 2 times 5. And we need 2 of the same value to take out 1. So 20 is going to be 2 square root of 5 plus or minus. And our ultimate goal here is to solve for x, so we're almost there because we have x plus 3 equals plus or minus 2 radical 5. We can subtract 3 from here. We'll get x equals negative 3 plus or minus 2 radical 5. That is our exact answer. And the decimal approximation, which I'm not going to go back and take the time to do on the calculator, you could do it at another time. But our other solution, here because we found this one, but off to the left of our graphing calculator screen, if you do the second trace and 0 again, we end up with negative 7.47 for our other root as the decimal approximation. So far, we've used graphing, we've solved by factoring, we've done completing the square, so you can probably guess what my intention is for the next example. But once again, what you might want to do is you might want to type this into your calculator. So to go back to y equals, and I'll turn off this screen here, and turn on this screen, type in that picture. We get that picture right there. And what happens in this particular case is that our graph does not cross the x-axis. And because it does not cross the x-axis, we're going to get no solution. But the thing is, because it's no solution, it means that we're probably going to have an I in our answer. So no solution means I in answer. So let's use quadratic formula. Once again, the nice thing about quadratic formula is you can pretty much use that method on any of them. You will be asked to do specific methods, but there will also be a time when you're given a choice. As we take a look at this one, I recommend that you label the fact that A is 2, b is negative 1. And if there's going to be something that you miss on this, it's going to be there because the 1's not written, so it's out of sight, out of mind. C is 5. And the quadratic, it's a little bit up on your paper, but it's right here on the screen for us to see, and we can fill it in. It's going to be x equals the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. Use your calculator on this one. I know that I'm not using the calculator because it sometimes gets temperamental up here on the smart board, but use your calculator to help you on this. Double negative is a positive. Negative 1 squared is 1. 4 times 2 is 8 times 5 is 40. All divided by 4. And if you did use your calculator, what you probably don't have is the 1 minus 40. You probably went directly to the fact that you get negative 39 divided by 4. And we need to look and see, can we simplify that value? Well, we at least can do a little bit. This is the square root of negative 1 and the square root of 39. What's the square root of negative 1 equal? It equals I. If we try to break down 39, it's 3 times 13. Do we have 2 of the same value to take out 1? We don't. So to finish this problem, we get 1 plus or minus I divided by 39, all divided by 4.